Wendy Williams' son is going off on Kevin Hunter for allegedly trying to steal from her. Wendy may have made a lot of bad decisions in her life, but nothing beats marrying this man.
He's always been that way. Look, I don't want to say too much, you know what I'm saying? But it's good to know that he's doing such evil things. Again, he won't win.
Rightfully, Kevin is getting called out for supposedly trying to sneak his way back into Wendy's life and straight into her pockets. According to reports, Kevin Hunter filed a lawsuit claiming that Wendy's conservatorship fumbled a jaw-dropping $20 million in her yearly earnings, then completely mishandled her $80 million estate, among other things. But here's where it gets shady. People are accusing Kevin of being really sneaky, filing this lawsuit behind Wendy's back. Yeah, you heard that right. Even when TMZ broke the story, Wendy herself called in.
Did you know your ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, was filing this lawsuit claiming to represent you?
I had no idea.
What's funny is, Kevin really thinks he's slick with this one. The massive $250 million lawsuit claims Wendy is basically being held hostage under some illegal guardianship. But here's where it gets really odd. Kevin isn't even part of her life anymore. Like, sir, y'all are divorced, she doesn't talk to you, and she doesn't like you. But now, all of a sudden, you're Captain Saver Wendy. Yeah, okay.
And
Nor do I want him to be a part of my life like that, no.
But here's where things get even more complicated. Wendy actually agreed to be placed under a guardianship in the beginning. According to her healthcare advocate, Ginalisa Monterosso, Wendy actually thought it was a smart move back in 2022 when Wells Fargo froze her accounts. Yep, that whole drama where the bank claimed someone was trying to exploit her financially. Wendy was on board with the court stepping in. At the time, she genuinely believed that having court-appointed protection was going to keep her safe, not turn into the mess it's looking like now. What she didn't expect was losing control of all her rights. Wendy never imagined that agreeing to a guardianship would strip her of basic rights. She had no access to her own money, phone, internet, or any say in where she lived, or even which friends or family could visit. And that is since May 2022 that Wendy has been living in a luxury high-rise assisted living facility in New York, battling health challenges and a controversial dementia diagnosis. Meanwhile, her legal guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, has complete control over her finances and personal decisions. Wendy's family says this whole setup is beyond extreme, like they can only talk to her if she calls them first. They are literally not even allowed to reach out themselves. Imagine your own mom, sister, whoever being locked behind a phone call you gotta wait on like it's some prison setup. Yeah, it's about control, not care.
As much as I want my phone, she can't let me have my phone. You know what I'm saying? Like I can call you, but you can't call me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't even know what kind of phone this is that I have. All I'm saying is that when I call you, you listen. If you don't call me back, you can't call me back. You understand what I'm saying?
Now, Wendy is done staying quiet, with her team claiming she is mentally sharp and capable of making her own choices. But the system keeping her under guardianship has been slow to let go. And all of this is happening while her ex, Kevin Hunter, tries to wedge himself back into the picture with a lawsuit she didn't ask for and definitely doesn't want.
And
Nor do I want him to be a part of my life like that, no.
why?
Because I'm divorced forever.
If you thought this saga couldn't sink any lower, it does. Back on January 16th, during a rare sit-down on The Breakfast Club, Wendy completely broke down. I'm talking full-on voice-shaking type of moment. The girl was hurting. She practically begged the world to wake up and see what's really going on. Her exact words? I am not cognitively impaired, but I feel like I am in prison. Yeah, let that sink in. And that's not just a metaphor. Wendy described being trapped inside a so-called luxury assisted living facility in New York. But let's call it what it is, a glorified cage. Her niece, Alex Finney, didn't hold back either. A luxury prison, she admitted, painting a grim picture of Wendy's day-to-day life.
She's there in New York, in this place, essentially like what some would call a luxury prison.
And it gets worse. Wendy claims they've got her popping 7 pills a day, and she has no clue what they are even for. Let's not forget, this is a woman who's been battling Graves' disease for years, and now they won't even let her see her own thyroid doctor. That's not just shady, it's terrifying.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Excuse me, there are 7 pills. I have no idea. What is this pill doing? What is it going to elicit?
But it gets darker. When Wendy begged to fly down to Miami to see her 94-year-old dad for his birthday, she couldn't even get a straight answer. Heartbreaking doesn't even cover it. That person who is holding me hostage. I don't know if she's going to let me see my dad, Wendy cried, her voice cracking under the weight of it all. At 94, the day after that is not promised. It's not promised.
And what do I think about being... Listen, look. This system is broken.
And if you're wondering how broken the system is, just know Wendy isn't allowed to manage her own money, but her Kevin Hunter, the same man she divorced and accused of leeching off her success, has just tried to file a $250 million lawsuit on her behalf without her knowledge. Make it make sense. But before we get to the firestorm Wendy's stirring up right now, you need to know this battle, it didn't just start overnight.
Court, actually, who sealed everything and told Sabrina she could not make comments on stuff, is allowing for certain things to be cleared up. And here's what they are clearing up.
See, earlier this year, her court-appointed guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, finally decided to speak up. After months of Wendy and her team bashing the guardianship and painting it as a luxury prison, Morrissey's legal team came out swinging with their side of the story. The letter, dated March 6th, was read live on The Breakfast Club by co-host Lauren LaRosa, and it was basically a giant clapback. In it, Morrissey's attorneys claimed the media and Wendy herself had been spreading flat-out inaccuracies about her condition, her finances, and the entire guardianship situation.
This point, they wrote
He
this
said
letter.
Wendy lying?
He said that there has been a lot of inaccuracies.
And here's where it gets real. The letter made one thing crystal clear. Morrissey wasn't the villain pulling strings behind closed doors. The decision to declare Wendy legally incapacitated came straight from the New York Supreme Court. The Guardian is just following court orders, not handing down diagnoses like some power-hungry puppet master.
So when it comes to the guardianship, they say, or they allege, that Sabrina, as Wendy's guardian, did not declare Wendy Williams to be legally incapacitated because no guardian has that power. That happens by a court. And that's not just for Wendy's case, that happens in every case like this.
The medical records, according to them, told a grim story. They claimed Wendy had been evaluated at 2 hospitals in 2022 and 2023, where doctors allegedly found clear signs of frontal lobe atrophy, a huge red flag linked to cognitive decline. By 2023, the diagnosis of progressive frontotemporal dementia was supposedly confirmed. They called it a degenerative condition, one that only gets worse over time.
They allege that in 2022 and 2023, Wendy was examined at 2 hospitals where they found frontal lobe atrophy. And they say it got worse, according to these legal documents that they have, in 2023, when she was diagnosed with a condition that causes progressive decline over time, which I'm assuming they're talking about the frontal dementia that we've been having conversations about.
Gina Monterosso, her health advocate, has been riding this roller coaster with her from the start. Around that same time, Monterosso filed complaints with Adult Protective Services and even staged a welfare check with police. 4 officers showed up at Wendy's facility, but she wasn't moved. According to Monterosso, Wendy was still isolated on the memory care floor, treated like she couldn't function.
So 2 police showed up, where I was, at the coterie. And so I was telling them, the same. And the next thing you know, there are 2 more police. So there are 4 in total. And I was talking with Gina, and saying, go ahead, Gina.
Yep. And the police came into the room. Wendy gave me the phone, and I pleaded with the police as if Wendy was my child. Please, you need to get her off this floor.
And listen,
she is confined.
But Morrissey's team was painting a whole different picture. In their version of events, Wendy was living comfortably in a high-end assisted living facility, complete with spa treatments, terraces, top-tier medical care, and the freedom to shop or attend appointments.
On Wendy's living conditions, they say that Wendy is, currently living under the care that was deemed appropriate by a court based on her diagnosis and based on what medical professionals are saying. They point out that where Wendy resides right now is an assisted living facility, with spa treatments, workout room, 24/7 medical oversight, excellent food, a dining room, outside terraces, and that she's able to leave the facility, and she has done so to shop, for meals, for medical appointments.
And when it came to her finances, the letter made it sound airtight. Every dollar of Wendy's money was allegedly under strict court supervision. No secret transactions, no funny business, just court-approved management.
On Wendy's money, they say Wendy's assets have been under professional management and are under court supervision. And anytime money moves, so anytime there's a disbursement of any sort, this is reviewed and approved by the court.
Then came Wendy's brief hospitalization that same month, but rather than confirming the court's claims, it only fueled the confusion. Monterosso says Wendy underwent independent cognitive testing and passed with flying colors. A perfect score, allegedly proving she's still sharp, still aware, still capable. But even with those results, more testing requested by Morrissey was supposedly in the works. Meanwhile, Wendy's family is still locked out. They are sitting on the sidelines while strangers run her life. And when they asked why Kevin would even pull a stunt like this, Wendy didn't sugarcoat it. She called him a money grubber.
And so this lawsuit that he's filing for $260 million?
Well, he's a money grubber.
But wait, it gets worse. Wendy's legal team isn't here for it either. Her lawyer, Joe Tacopina, said Kevin has no legal standing to file anything on her behalf. None. The lawsuit is not just messy, it's pointless. Kevin is basically trying to insert himself in Wendy's life again, but nobody's inviting him back. Even Wendy's lawyer was like, "We don't need Kevin's help. Thanks, but no thanks." They're working on getting Wendy out of the guardianship the right way, through medical evaluations and a possible jury trial. But Kevin's popping up like he's some kind of savior? Nah, that's not how this works. But the family drama has been bubbling from the start too. Kevin Hunter Jr., Wendy's only son, has been right in the thick of it. See, long before the protests, before Wendy was sneaking help notes on her window, people were already on Kevin, wondering if he played a part in how this whole guardianship saga kicked off.
I want the family to become the guardian.
And you guys are ready to take care of her?
100%.
Back then, rumors exploded that Kevin had stolen money from his own mom's accounts, allegedly triggering the court's intervention. But Kevin, he shut that down fast. According to him, their finances were never some secret, shady thing.
Kevin also addressing headlines that he stole money from his mom, which some say then triggered the guardianship.
I've never taken it with the Argus. I've always spoken to her, and she's always wanted me to spend her money.
He explained. In her words, Wendy was clear. She wanted to spoil her son.
I've got so much money. I want it for my son. I want to give some love to my son, Kevin. It's me and you, kid.
But even with the accusations swirling, Kevin insisted he wasn't here to cash out or run wild with control. Still, Kevin didn't sugarcoat the reality. He believed that as long as Wendy had yes people around her, enablers who turned a blind eye to her struggles, the same toxic cycle would repeat. She would ultimately just find any excuse to be by herself, so she can get back to drink, he said bluntly.
As long as she has people around who are yes people, the same thing is always going to occur where she would ultimately just find any excuse to be by herself so she can get back to drinking.
And while Wendy was still dreaming of a comeback, talk shows, projects, something to put her name back in lights, Kevin wasn't buying it. He thought it was time to stop chasing fame and start facing the real crisis. She's worked enough, he insisted.
She always talks about how she wants to work. I feel as though she's worked enough.
You ready?
Her health needs to be a #1 priority, not her getting a talk show. I'd want to put my mom in a situation where working isn't the thing that kills her.
But all of that was before the legal chaos boiled over. Let's not forget, Kevin already collected his share in the divorce. Wendy reportedly paid him for years after their split. But now that the money's dried up, suddenly he's worried about her well-being. Yeah, sure, people close to Wendy are seeing straight through this. Her son knows what's up. Fans know what's up. Even Wendy knows what's up. Reportedly, Wendy's lawyer is now focused on getting her free. They're doing more medical tests, and when the time is right, they'll push for a jury trial in New York. And honestly, a jury is probably going to side with Wendy. Thanks for watching. Click that like button to stick with us, because Wendy Williams' legal fights are just heating up.